One of the most frivolous and infantile moves imaginable, turning his 2024 re-election messaging apparatus over to TikTok and Instagram influencers. But as sad and pathetic as this is, Biden's so-called army of influencers might just work.
Okay, so I love that she is describing it as infantile, stupid. I forget the actual words. And I was trained by the Wall Street Journal that adjectives are the poor man's tool. But anyway, and she acknowledges that it might work. Okay, so look, even if you think it wouldn't work, it would seem weird to criticize a strategy of trying to like rally people to be interested in your campaign. I feel like that's kind of campaigning 101. But look at how comfortable she is going on her show to her audience of at least hundreds of thousands of, and I'm gonna be clear, this is what she is telegraphing to me, much older people, that she can just mock the very idea of trying to appeal to people on TikTok or on Instagram. Why? What effing difference does it make that those are the platforms that you'd be reaching out to them? Donald Trump is on Truth Social, like literally right now, typing something in all caps. She loved it when he was on Twitter. I mean, she didn't actually. The Fox hosts almost universally hate Donald Trump, but she pretended as a character to like it. Ron DeSantis has his supporters making memes. They love the memes. Then what's the difference? The difference is not that it's on TikTok, although I would imagine that outside of like the manosphere, I don't know how much of a presence the right wing really has on TikTok. It's that they just don't want the left to be doing it. And that becomes much more clear when she turns to her guest. So she has Kellyanne Conway on, and Kellyanne Conway has a lot of mocking things to say about the strategy or the idea of giving a damn what young people actually think. Weird that the right is having trouble with young voters, but she does admit that it might work. Take a look at this.
I think we've got some work to do on the young people who think differently on abortion perhaps, or guns, or climate change. But even there, the Democrats' messages are usually cynical. The thing I'm really concerned about with this, Laura, is that the left becomes a turnout machine with young people, because influencers have this domino effect, lemming-like effect of people just all then wanting to be part of the same crowd. And if they succeed in that way, we're not doing a great job competing for ballots. We're just competing for votes. Our candidates lost the early voting miserably last time. I mean, someone like Dr. Oz lost the early vote to John Fetterman by over 4-1. So we need to compete for ballots, not just voters.
Okay, I love a lot of that. So first of all, she's very worried about like a bunch of people being rallied to support a politician like lemmings. They wouldn't want that on the right. Like, can you imagine if they became so sheep-like that they all identified with the exact same hat or something? Anyway, by the way, I think at the end of that video, she was saying the early vote. I think she means the youth vote. I mean, they lost in both of those things, but I think she means that, like for instance, Fetterman beat Oz 4-1 in the youth vote. I imagine she was misspeaking. So she is at least savvy enough, or at least interested enough in electoral wins for Republicans, that she's pointing out that like, hey, maybe we shouldn't just mock young voters while staking out the exact opposite position that they have on all of the issues of importance. Maybe we should try to appeal to them. Now, so that's like a good starting point, I think. Now, what are you actually gonna do? I mean, I would love to see that conversation between those two. I don't know, talk about the trans community more, attack them. I don't think that that's gonna work. Look at what Kellyanne Conway said. She said, that the young people tend to support, I guess she would say the left, but she means centrist Democrats. They haven't really had the chance to support an actual leftist for issues like abortion, guns, and climate change. And she considered those to be kind of throwaway points. Like, yeah, okay, they got that, but we can get them. Like, you're the savvy one out of those two between you and Laura Ingraham, and you think that those are like minor issues to young people? Young people who've grown up every single day of their lives believing that they'd have control over what happens to their bodies. And you've stripped that away in dozens of states. You're trying to do it nationwide. You think that they should just be cool with that? Like that's a small thing? You think that's equivalent to like, okay, well, sure, we're taking away your bodily autonomy, but we really stuck it to Disney that time, didn't we? You think those things balance out? And then on guns, they are literally being massacred, okay? And lots of young people know someone who has been through this, who has lived through one of those experiences, and they see how callous, how heartless, how cruel the response from the right is. You think that's a minor thing? For a person to grow up and for decades to be reminded on like a weekly basis that one side of the aisle doesn't give a damn if you live or die. You think that that's something that can just be overcome, let alone how quick they are to throw away, I think, the very understandable. I'm actually surprised by how central the position on climate change is for young voters. That is not a small thing. That is an existential fear about what the rest of their life is gonna look like. And they look to you, now not just to the Republicans, I think they rightly see a lot of Democrats this way too, as being, it is horrific that in the face of all of what is going to come when it comes to climate change, that they don't feel like we need to act. Or that they'll occasionally, like in the case of Biden, we're supposed to be impressed, he did his climate bill, but then you have the Willow Project, you have the massive sell-off in the Gulf of Mexico. Like there is going to be rightful rage when it comes to those things. And so Kellyanne Conway can write those things off as not being significant. I think that they are highly significant. And this isn't just advice that I'm providing to the right. I will remind you that Biden occasionally during campaign time likes to like talk like he has the right issues on some of these. And on some of this he might, less so on climate change, but you need to make that central and you need to actually deliver. I have no doubt that the Democrats are gonna do better amongst young voters than the Republicans in the 2024 election. I think that's like certainly a lock. I don't think either Trump or DeSantis is gonna be the person who breaks through when it comes to that. But imagine how much stronger the turnout advantage would be if you didn't just have young people being motivated by horror at what might come if the Republicans get back in charge, but that paired with, hey, remember when we voted in Biden and he delivered on all of those promises? What a 1-2 punch that would be for turnout. So we got a little bit of advice for the Republicans, a little bit for the Democrats as well. And honestly, like you are going to have to try to appeal to people on these other platforms, not just young voters. Again, like Laura Ingraham, I don't know if she uses TikTok or cares about it or whatever, but the idea that it's infantile because all you're trying to do is get young people, I'll remind her, who become older people, who become adults, so isn't it a good idea to reach out to them? But plenty of older people use it as well, which was noted in the Biden thing. Like there's plenty of people who go there for some financial news or sports news or fashion news or real estate or tech or whatever. Why not try to reach out to people there if that's the only place that you're actually going to get them? So anyway, I think it's a little bit short-sighted on the part of the right. I also don't think that it really reflects their honest view on this. They're definitely trying to reach out to those people. They just have to make the same exact thing being done by the Biden campaign seem childish in comparison.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.